What's up guys, Thomas back with another Tech Tip Tuesday, and today I'm going to show you how you can improve your shifter regardless if it's stock or aftermarket just by installing these two little shifter springs from Mtec. So these are the springs that make sure your shifter returns to the center when it's in neutral. So when you're jiggling your shifter around and making sure it's in neutral, these are the springs that you're pushing up against. Now, when you increase the spring rates, like on the Mtec ones, this is gonna help shifts from second to third, because really you're just gonna be pushing forward because these extra weighted springs are gonna do all the work for pushing it over to the right to get into third gear. Now, vice versa, from fifth to fourth, it's gonna help as well, because really all you have to do is pull back and these springs are going to be pushing over to the center, making sure you hit that fourth gear. Okay, so tools you're going to need a breaker bar with a 27mm socket. You're going to need a deep well socket, or you can use one with an extension, but you're going to need some extra reach. You're going to need a 10mm socket. You'll need a 10mm Allen wrench, or couldn't find one, so I found a 3/8, and that one won't work as well. To get this off, you might need like the handle of a jack to like get some leverage. And then to pull one of the springs out, you need a little pick, one with an angle, or you can use a small magnet. All right, so once you get underneath your car, we're first gonna be removing this little transmission cover here. It's held in by like 10 or 11 10mm bolts. You can easily remove that. Okay, so underneath the transmission on the driver's side, we're gonna do our first spring, and there's a big Allen bolt up at the top right in front of this cross member here for the transmission. So we can use our 10mm Allen or our 3/8 inch Allen and undo this. Now this thing is gonna be pretty tight, so you wanna grab, probably if you're using an Allen wrench, maybe like the handle of your jack to use as leverage to break this nut loose, because it is on there pretty tight. Now the threads on this little bolt are decently long, and it's gonna be pretty tough doing it at like a quarter turn at a time. So this is gonna take a few minutes, so just be patient. Then with a small pick, we can get the old spring out of there. Then we can throw in the new Mtec spring, which for the driver's side is the longer and skinnier one. And then when you're rethreading the Allen bolt, make sure you don't strip it. Okay, that should be plenty tight. You're supposed to do 18 foot-pounds, but obviously we can't connect like a torque wrench to this, and there's only enough clearance for this Allen wrench. So 18 foot-pounds is where you should be, but set your elbow to like good and tight and you should be good. Now, next, for the other side, we'll need this big breaker bar. Yeah, you'll need a 27mm wrench, and the longer the better, because both of these things are on really tight. Now the bolt that we're looking for on the passenger side of the transmission can be best described as the one that looks like it has a nipple on it. You can't miss it. All right, now you should get the whole entire assembly with a little ball bearing kind of looking thing inside. Okay, this is what you should have. There's probably some crusty Loctite on there. And we're gonna take this little piston out, and inside is the old spring. There's gonna be some oil in there, that's fine. Now we can throw in the new Mtec spring, the one that's stiffer, throw this piston thingy back in, throw the whole thing back in the car. Now when you're putting this back in, just like the other one, take your time. You don't wanna strip any of these threads out because they are pretty fine, and it is a delicate procedure to get this back in here. Okay. Now, you're gonna wanna torque this one down to 29 foot-pounds, and that's gonna be easy on this side because you can actually get a torque wrench on this side. Okay, so now that the bolts are torqued down, let's lower the car and see the differences that those springs have made. Okay, first time handling the car with the Mtec shifter springs. Okay, everything feels like normal so far. Ooh. Really hard to describe this, but like if you push forward, it just like automatically pushes to the right a bit. Now I definitely feel a difference in the shifter springs on the IRP short shifter. It's not like a huge, it is subtle, but I think the differences would be more pronounced in like a stock shifter or a short shifter that does like a 30% reduction instead of like a crazy 60% reduction in here. I think it's a little bit harder to feel in this one. However, you can put it on an IRP shifter, put it in any shifter, it doesn't really matter if you just want that little helping hand that pushes you to the next gear or pushes you back to fourth gear. So it might be important on the type of driving you do, especially like if you're doing track driving or spirited driving and you've ever like almost gone into first when you're going from second to third, this is going to help out a little bit. So it prevents you from, you know, over revving your engine if you were to go into first, which would be terrible. And I did that on an autocross. I didn't over rev it, but you know, it sucks. It ruins your run. The hardest part in this install was probably rethreading the bolts, but other than that, like, that was the hardest part. It's not very hard, and this doesn't cost a lot. So if you think this will be beneficial, definitely get it. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's all I got for you guys. If you have any questions at all, feel free to send us an email at sales@ft86speedfactory.com. And if you get this video in the first hour, if you catch it early, if you have notifications on, I'll be monitoring the comments for the first hour so we can comment, we can chat, we can talk about this and if you really want it or not. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, now that we have those bolts. All right, with both of those bolts torqued down, with both the bolts. With those both bolts, and see the differences that those springs have made. Oh.